The Umbrella Man. I'm going to tell you about a funny thing that happened to my mummy and me yesterday evening. I'm 12 years old. I'm a girl. My mum is 34 and I'm nearly as tall as her already. Yesterday afternoon, Mummy took me up to London to see a dentist. He found a hole. It was in my back tooth and he filled it without hurting me too much. After that we went to a cafe. I had a banana split. Mummy had a cup of coffee. By the time we got to leave, it was almost 6 o'clock. When we came out of the cafe, it had started to rain. "We must get a taxi," my mummy said. We were wearing ordinary hats and coats, and it was raining quite hard. "Why don't we go back in the cafe and wait for it to stop?" I said. I wanted another banana split. They were gorgeous. "It isn't going to stop. We must get home." We stood on the pavement in the rain looking for a taxi. Lots of them came by, but they all had passengers inside. "Oh, I wish we had a car with a chauffeur," Mummy said. Just then a man came up to us who was a very small man. He was probably very old, probably 70 or even more. He raised his hat politely and said to Mummy, "Excuse me, I do hope you excuse me." He had a white moustache and bushy white eyebrows and a wrinkly little pink face. He was sheltered under an umbrella which was held high over his head. "Yes," Mummy said, her voice very cool and distant. "I wonder if I could ask a small favour of you. It's a very small favour." I saw Mummy looking at him very suspiciously. She's a suspicious person, my Mummy. She's especially suspicious of two things: strange men and boiled eggs. When she cuts the top off a boiled egg, she pokes around inside with her spoon as though expecting to find a mouse or something. With strange men, she has a golden rule which says, "The nicer the man, the more suspicious you must become." This little old man was particularly nice. He was polite, he was well spoken, he was well dressed. He was a real gentleman. The reason I know he was a gentleman is because of his shoes. "You can always spot a gentleman by the shoes he wears," my mummy always says. It's one of her favourite sayings. This man had beautiful brown shoes. "The truth of the matter is, I've got myself into a little bit of a scrape. I need some help. Not much, I assure you. You see, madam, old people like me are often terribly forgetful." Mummy's chin was up. She was staring down at him along the full length of her nose. It's a fearsome thing, that frosty nose stare my mother gives. Most people go to pieces completely when she gives it to them. I once saw my own head mistress begin to stammer and simper like an idiot when my mum gave her a really foul frosty noser. But the little man on the pavement with the umbrella over his head didn't bat an eyelid. He gave a gentle smile and said, "I beg your pardon, madam. I beg you to believe that I'm not in the habit of stopping ladies in the street and telling them my troubles." "I should hope not," my mummy said, and I felt quite embarrassed by Mummy's sharpness. I wanted to say, "Mummy, for heaven's sake, he's a very, very old man. He's very sweet and polite. He's in some sort of trouble, so don't be so beastly to him." But I didn't say anything. The little man shifted his umbrella from one hand to the other. "I've never forgotten it before," he said. "You've never forgotten what?" Mummy said sternly. "My wallet," he said. "I must have left it in my other jacket. Isn't it the silliest thing to do?" "Are you asking me to give you money?" Mummy said. "Oh, gracious me, no, no," he cried. "Heaven forbid I should ever do that." "Then what are you asking?" Mummy said. "Do hurry up, we're getting soaked to the skin." "I know you are, and that is why I'm offering you this umbrella of mine to protect you, to keep it forever. If only what?" Only you would give me, in return, £1 for my taxi fare to get me home. My mum was still very suspicious. If you had no money in the first place, how did you get here? I walked, he said. Every day I go for a long walk, and then I summon a taxi to take me home. I do it every day of the year. Then why don't you walk home now? Mummy said. Oh, I wish I could. I do wish I could, but I don't think I could manage it on these silly old legs. Oh, I've gone too far already. Mum stood there, chewing her lower lip. She was beginning to melt a bit. I could see that. And the idea of getting an umbrella to shelter under must have tempted her a great deal. It's a lovely umbrella, the old man said. Yes, I've noticed, Mummy said. It's silk. I can see that. Then why don't you take it, madam? It cost me £20, I promise this. It's no importance to me so long as I can get home and rest these weary legs of mine. I saw Mummy's hand feeling for the clasp of her purse. She saw me watching her. I was giving one of my own frosty-nosed looks this time, and she knew exactly what I was telling her. Now, listen, Mummy, I was telling her, you simply mustn't take advantage of a tired man in this way. It's a rotten thing to do. Mummy paused and looked back at me, and then she said to the little man, I don't think it's quite right that I take such a lovely umbrella worth £20. I think I'd better just give you the taxi fare and be done with it. Oh, no, 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 he cried. Out of the question. I wouldn't dream of it, not in a million years. I'd never accept money from you like that. Please, take the umbrella. Take the umbrella. Keep the rain off your shoulders. Mummy gave me a triumphant sideways look. There you are, she's telling me. You're wrong. He wants me to have it. She fished in her purse and took out £1. She held it out to the little man, who took it and handed her the umbrella. He pocketed the £1, raised his hat, gave a quick bow from the waist, and said, Thank you, ma'am, thank you, thank you. And then he was gone. Come under here and keep dry, darling, Mummy said. Aren't we lucky? I've never had a silk umbrella before. Why were you so horrid to him in the beginning? I asked. I wanted to satisfy myself he wasn't a trickster, she said, and I did. He's a gentleman. I'm very pleased I was able to help. Yes, Mummy, I said, a real gentleman. Wealthy, too, otherwise he wouldn't have had a silk umbrella. I shouldn't be surprised if he was a titled person, Sir Harry Goldsworth or something like that. Yes, Mummy. There's a good lesson to you. Never rush things. Always take your time when summing someone up. Then you'll never make mistakes. There he goes, I said. Look. Well, over there, look, he's crossing the street. Goodness, Mummy, what a hurry he's in. We watched the little man as he dodged nimbly in and out of traffic. He reached the other side of the street and he turned left, walking very fast. He doesn't look very tired to me. Does he to you, Mummy? Mummy didn't answer. He doesn't look as though he's trying to get a taxi either. Mum was standing very still and stiff and staring at him across the street. We could see him clearly. He was in a terrific hurry. He was bustling along the pavement, sidestepping the other pedestrians, swinging his arms like a soldier in a march. He is up to something, Mummy said, stony-faced. But what? I don't know, Mummy snapped. But I'm going to find out. Come with me. She took my arm as we crossed the street together. Then we turned left. Can you see him? Yes, he's there. Look, Mum, he's turning right down the next street. We came to the corner and we turned right. The little man was about 20 yards ahead of us. He was scuttling along like a rabbit. We had to walk really fast to keep up with him. The rain was pelting down harder than ever now, and I could see it dripping from the brim of his hat on his shoulders. But we were snug and dry under our lovely new silk umbrella. "What is he up to?" Mum said. "What if he turns around and sees us?" I said. "I don't care if he does," Mummy said. "He lied. He said he was too tired to walk any further. He's practically running us off our feet. He's a barefaced liar. What a croak!" "You mean he's not a titled gentleman?" I asked. "Be quiet," she said, and at the next crossing the little man turned right again, and then he turned left, then right. "I'm not giving up now," Mummy said. "He's disappeared," I cried. "Where's he gone?" "He went in that door. I saw him into that house. Great heavens! It's a pub!" It was a... Great heavens, it's a pub! It was a pub, and great big letters across the front it said the Red Lion. "You're not going in there, are you, Mummy?" "No. We'll watch from outside." There's a great big plate glass window along the front of the pub, and although it was a bit steamy on the inside, we can see through it well enough if we went up close. We stood huddled together outside the pub window. I was clutching Mummy's arm. The big raindrops were making a great loud noise on the umbrella. "There he is," I said, "over there." The room we were looking into was full of people and cigarette smoke, and the little man was in the middle of it all. He was now without his hat and coat, and he was edging his way through the crowd towards the bar. And when he reached it, he placed both hands on the bar itself and spoke to the barman. I saw his lips moving as he gave his order. The barman turned away from him for a few seconds and came back with a smallish tumbler filled to the brim with light brown liquid. The little man placed a £1 note on the counter. "That's my £1, Mummy hissed. "What a nerve!" "What's in the glass?" I asked. "Whiskey! Need whiskey!" The barman didn't give him any change from the £1. "That must be a treble whiskey," Mummy said. "What's a treble?" I asked. 3 times the normal measure," she answered. The little man picked up the glass and put it to his lips. He tilted it gently, and then he tilted it higher and higher and higher, and very soon all the whiskey had disappeared down his throat in one long pour. "That's a jolly expensive drink," I said. "It's ridiculous. Fancy paying £1 for something to swallow in one go." "It cost him more than £1," I said. "It cost him a £20 silk umbrella." "So it did. He must be mad." The little man was standing by the bar with an empty glass in his hand. He was smiling now, and a sort of golden glow of pleasure was spreading over his round little pink little face. I saw his tongue come out to lick his little white moustache as though searching for one last drop of that precious whiskey. Slowly he turned away from the bar and edged his way back through the crowd to where his hat and his coat were hanging. He put on his hat, he put on his coat, and then, in a manner so superbly cool and casual that you'd hardly notice anything at all, he lifted from the coat rack one of the many wet umbrellas hanging there off the wall, and off he went. "Did you see that?" Mummy shrieked. "Did you see what he did?" "Shh!" I whispered. "He's coming out." We lowered our umbrella to hide our faces and peered out from under it, and out he came. He never looked in our direction. He opened his new umbrella over his head and scurried off down the road the way he'd come. "So that's his little game," Mummy said. "Neat," I said. "Super."
We followed him back to the main street where we'd first met him, and we watched him as he proceeded, with no trouble at all, to exchange his new umbrella for another £1 note. This time it was to a tall, thin fellow who didn't even have a coat or a hat, and as soon as the transaction was completed, the little man trotted off down the street and was lost in the crowd, but this time he went in the opposite direction. "Oh, you see how clever he is. He never goes to the same pub twice." "He could go on doing this all night," I said. "Yes, of course. But I bet he prays like mad for rainy days." Love you, Mary.